tends to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired Krishna Prema. So I once again welcome all of you to the Bhakti Sangha Jiva conference call. So we will be moving on to the Bhagavatam session. Before moving on to the session, let me know who are all on the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nita Mataji, Dandrat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preeti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. This is Karuna Devi Dasi from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Kumudeki Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and to all the assembled devotees. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Dasi from Shyama.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to all your services. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Dandavad Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Indulekha Devi Dasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Unita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So much, Mataji, for all your services, and thank you for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Aditi Devi Dasi in Canada.
Hare Krishna, Aditi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasini Devadasi from Atlanta. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to all your services and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna. Anyone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karuna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. And I think the speaker is already there in the online, so we can go to the introduction for the speaker. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I would like to welcome all of you again to this Bhakti Sangha Jiva conference call, and we will be moving on to our next session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Before moving to the next session, I would like to hand over the call to His Grace Suresh Sham Prabhuji for giving introduction about Her Grace Indulekha Karuna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Suresh Sham Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. So here is a brief introduction about Mataji. Her Grace Indulekha Karuna Mataji is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Mataji was introduced to Krishna consciousness by her mother in 2000 due to the association of some devotees. She actively started practicing Krishna consciousness from 2015 and entered Bhakti Sangha in 2018. Got first and second initiation in 2001. Mataji conducts Bhakti Vriksha programs in Lincoln, Nebraska, where she cultivates a group of devotees. Besides that, she also teaches children in nearby ISKCON center. Krishna conscious kids classes are conducted. In Bhakti Sangha, Mataji has an array of services. She serves as a teacher of the Damodar kids, sometimes serves as a guest speaker for Govinda kids. She maintains the Bhakti Sangha website, Bhakti Sangha accounts, helps in maintaining the Zoom and live channel. She takes care of early morning Bhagavatam classes, live and notification, and screening of verses on all weekdays. She makes beautiful artistic posters for the midday morning sessions and also helps with all technical support. She's fondly known as the Tech Lady of Bhakti Sangha. Bhakti Sangha moved to Zoom because of her. She also serves as one of the speakers for the Bhagavad Gita outreach program on Bhakti Sangha for newcomers. She loves reading and researching on various scriptures. She is very gentle and patient devotee and is always open for more services. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Back to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Shurashram Prabhuji. It's very nice to hear about introduction about Mataji. Yes, there is no limit for her services. She does unlimited services in Bhakti Sangha. Thank you so much, Mataji, for all your services. And today I'm very happy to welcome you to this Bhakti Sangha for giving a wonderful lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12. Text 14 and 15, and please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on this forum and for allowing me to speak today. I did have to make a correction, Prabhuji. I did not get initiated in 2001. I am a very, very, very new, very young devotee. So I got my first initiation in 2021. Yes. Okay.
21, Mataji.
21. So yes. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really would like to thank Her Grace Shama Gauri Mataji, Her Grace Kirtida Sundari Mataji, Her Grace Preeti Vilasni Mataji, and Her Grace Vinita Gandharvika Mataji for allowing me to speak and for giving me this opportunity. The scripture is very glorious. So any opportunity to study the scripture is something that I would always look forward to, irrespective of what I speak, because, okay, I don't have any realizations. It is only the words of Srila Prabhupada that I would be sharing here. Hare Krishna. We'll get started with the prayers. I'll share my screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridayantastohya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangriye Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Datati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to all the devotees assembled here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadhaya Nagara Gramadharine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so today we are going to continue learning from the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Vritrasura's Glorious Death. And today we will be going into text 14 and 15. I hope I am audible to everybody and no difficult in seeing the slides. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with a brief summary of what we have covered till now. So far, we have seen this series has been going on for multiple chapters. It started with Indra first disrespecting his spiritual master. So that is where one after the other we see problems coming in the life of Indra. And in the last chapter, we saw the glorious prayers of Vritrasura, how he was directly addressing the Supreme Lord. And the most, what is known as the Chatur Shloki, the 4 shlokas that summarizes the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam once again, just through the prayers of Vritrasura. So after Vritrasura, he finished speaking, he decided to again release, because he was just praying, he was glorifying the Supreme Lord, and then he took up his weapon once again. He took up his trident, and then he just threw it again at King Indra. But Indra did not get, worried at all. Immediately he used his thunderbolt. His thunderbolt, it has the power of Lord Vishnu. So the thunderbolt was definitely much more powerful than the trident. And he just broke the trident off to pieces. And at the same time, he cut off one of Vritrasura's arm. But Vritrasura did not stop there. Using the remaining arm, he decided to strike Indra once again. And he used a mace and he struck Indra, and the thunderbolt fell from Indra's hand. Now, this made Indra heavily embarrassed, and he decided not to pick up the thunderbolt again. But Vritrasura then started speaking, he encouraged Indra first to pick up the thunderbolt. And then he started giving him these most valuable instructions to Indra, who was struggling over there. So he said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of victory and defeat. So if Indra had any doubts that he was responsible for everything that is happening there, Vritrasura was trying to clear those doubts from his mind. So he said that, okay, without knowing that the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, these fools, they try to take credit for victory or defeat by themselves. But actually, everything is under the control of the Lord. No one has any independence except for the Supreme Lord. So the Purusha, the enjoyer, and the Prakriti, which is the enjoyed, they are all under the control of the Supreme Lord, because it is in his supervision that everything will work, and everything works very systematically. So if we don't see the hands of the Supreme Lord in every action, then we consider ourselves the ruler or the controller of things. But once we understand who the real controller is, that it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one becomes freed from all the relativities in this world. And that is where this verse comes in. This verse is text 14 of this chapter. Okay, so we'll read it together. We'll read it. Tasmat akirti yashayor jayapajayayorapi samasyat sukha dukkhabhyam mrityu jivitayostatha. So this verse, it only has a translation. There is no purport by Srila Prabhupada. So we will cover two verses together. We'll cover 14 and 15. They are heavily related to, so we'll do both. So translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So he says, since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead, that is the word tasmad, he's elaborated that. One should be equipoised in fame and defamation, victory and defeat, life and death, in their effects represented as happiness and distress. One should maintain oneself in equilibrium without anxiety. We all know a very, 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 very famous verse that is directly related to this. Before I go to the next slide, I just would like to know if anyone wants to recite that verse. Oh, we are not going to have just me talking today. I really would love everybody to interact. Otherwise, the session is just going to be super boring. So, Her Grace Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please go ahead.
Is it
Everybody.
looking for Matra Sparshastha Kaunteya verse?
Exactly. We have to, yes, Mataji. Yes. So, even in the Bhagavad Gita, we talk about the dualities of life. I will get to each one of these words in this verse very soon. Okay. So it is Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitosna Sukha Dukkhada Agama Payino Nityastam Stitikshasva Bharata. So there also, what does Lord Krishna advise? Lord Krishna advises Arjuna, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That is the equipoise state that we are talking about right here. So we will look at the dualities that are mentioned in this verse. So this verse starts as Tasmat Akirtir Yashayo. Tasmat is therefore. Akirti and Yasha. So these are obviously opposites, right? So Yasha means fame, Akirti is defamation. Same way, Jaya pa Jayayor api. So Jaya pa Jayayor api is Jaya and Apajaya. So Jaya is victory, Apajaya is defeat. Okay.
Can you move the slide to the previous? We're not able to see that sheet.
Sorry, sure. Okay. Yes, Mataji, thank you. So Jaya and Apajaya, one is victory and the other is defeat. The third line says Samasyat Sukha Dukkhabhyam. Samasyat means be equipoised, be equal, right? And Sukha Dukkha in happiness, and Dukkha is distress. So Mrityu Jivitayos Tatha. Mrityu is death and Jivitayo is living. So one has to be, since we know that everything depends on the Supreme Lord, we have to be equipoised. We should be able to tolerate all the anxieties that come in life. It could be resulting from fame or defamation, victory or defeat, life and death, or happiness and distress. So we need to be in a state of absolute equilibrium. I'll move on to the next slide so that you can see the differences between the two words. So this equipoised nature is emphasized in this verse. Okay, so as Bhagavad Gita 2:14 says, Tam Stitikshasva Bharata, we just have to tolerate. So many times it is very easy for us, or we are tuned to tolerating difficulties that arise on a physical platform. Like that's why we talk about shitosna, right? When there is too much cold or too much heat, we have already accustomed our body and we know exactly, we are well prepared. We know how to prepare ourselves for these conditions. When it's too cold, when it's winter, we immediately bundle up, we turn on the heater. And in summer, when it's too hot, obviously the air conditioner is running. We make sure we wear appropriate clothes. We have an umbrella. We have a lot of water to drink, all that. So we prepare ourselves to endure these physical distresses that come in our life. But what are we doing about the distresses that affect us on a mental plane? So these distresses like fame and defamation, victory and defeat, happiness and distress, life and death, all of these are on a much more subtle platform, right? So we need to make sure that we prepare ourselves even for this. So we need to make sure that we learn to tolerate this. There is nothing more that we can do. You know, miseries may come, miseries may go. It is our choice to determine how we want to react to those miseries. Because all of these, like if you see, these are pairs, Akirti and Yasha, Jaya and Ajaya, Sukha and Dukkha. These are all two sides of the same coin. They are inseparable. So we need to make sure that, okay, definitely if one comes, the other is also sure to come, right? So we have to make sure that we prepare ourselves so that we can handle these. And this is not to be handled on a gross bodily platform. It has to be handled by our subtle body here. So only one who is more advanced, who understands what the path of devotional service is, would be able to tolerate these kind of miseries. When difficulties increases, we should not get overwhelmed. It's okay. So I have to say here that these are definitely not personal realizations. This is what Srila Prabhupada is telling us. So I have not reached that stage yet, but I pray that someday I also would be able to learn to tolerate all the dualities in life. Because as long as we are in the material world, there is always good and evil around us. This world is completely full of duality. But if we are fixed in Krishna, if we are fixed in Krishna consciousness, then there is very little scope of us being affected by whatever comes our way. Because at that time, we are only concerned with Krishna. We are fully dependent on the goodwill of the Lord. Even Maharaj Rishabhadev, when he was teaching his son how to be freed from the false identifications, arising from this false ego and this material conditions of life, at that time, he also says the same thing. He says, of course, first he says that you need to accept a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master, and then you inquire to him. But after that, he says that dvandva titiksha. So as long as you are situated in this material world, there will always be pleasure and pain arising from this material body. We need to make sure that we learn how to tolerate those temporary pains and pleasures. This is what Maharaj Rishabhadev teaches his sons. So how and what do we mean by this tolerance? As we see, that's a picture of Bali Maharaj and Vamanadev. So what is tolerance? Tolerance is, this is the definition given in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter. So it says that, Srila Prabhupada says that tolerance means that one should learn to be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. Especially when we are in the path of Krishna consciousness, in the spiritual path, there will be many impediments that happen that prevent us from advancing in our spiritual knowledge. But we need to tolerate all those impediments, and we need to continue our progress with great determination. So in Bhagavad Gita in 270, Krishna says, Apurya manam achala pratishtam samudramapa pravishanti yadvad tadvat kamam yam pravishanti sarve shantim apnotir nakamakami. So he talks about how a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires. So all of these dualities in life also are affected. They come into our lives because of either our desires, because of our false ego. So a person who is not disturbed, he is like an ocean. What happens in an ocean? In an ocean, there are so many rivers that continue to flow into the ocean. So it is constantly being filled by all that water. Yet the ocean appears very still. It doesn't overflow and it doesn't rise so much right away, right? So if in case the rivers are overflowing because of a lot of rain, all the water that it carries away into the ocean, that is not going to cause the ocean also to rise so heavily right away. No, the ocean is always the same. Ocean is always steady. It is never agitated. And for a person who is fixed in Krishna consciousness, it is the same. They are also very steady. Only then can they achieve peace, and not a person who strives to satisfy their material desires. So if we do not find great satisfaction within our soul, then we are affected by the circumstances surrounding us. So we need to first find that satisfaction within us, and only then can we be satisfied in the world around us. And for a devotee, how do we get that satisfaction? By constantly engaging in the loving service of the Lord. It is only by rendering services to the Lord and by performing our daily devotional processes, only then can we remain steady, just like the ocean. And only then can we achieve full peace in our life. So for that, first we have to focus on what is Krishna's desire. When we focus on that, then we do not care about what the situation is, what we have to face around the world. And then we would not be morose. So a devotee, he never surrenders to his own false ego. He only surrenders to the will of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book, in chapter 89, he says something really wonderful that I really loved. He says that one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. So if you are familiar with the chapter, you would know who is the personality that's being referred here. I'm not going to tell you that because I have that as a question in the next slide. So we will look at it together. Mataji, we'll wait a little bit and then we will see. Okay, we'll go to the next page and then we will know. Okay, so it's easy for us to make a show of being great. But when we are challenged, when we are in a provoking situation, that is when the actual test is. That is when we are going to be tested for what our character is like. And of course, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it has this as a constant theme. So let us look at some of the examples from the Shastras on great personalities who have displayed the sense of equanimity. Okay, so we will start. I kindly request all of you, please participate. These are very easy. So this is like a Jeopardy where I am going to give you the character or the situation and you can please tell who the personality is. I think there is no reason for us to do raised hands here. Maybe we can just unmute and answer. Okay, so I'll have around 11 of them. So the first one, this personality was not agitated at all when Bhrigu Muni kicked him in the chest. And this is
Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu.
Exactly. So that's where Srila Prabhupada has quoted that statement right here, that one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. Okay, so thank you so much for answering. We'll go to the next one. Okay. He remained as a deaf and dumb person. He was mistreated by his family. He was given condemned food, brought by his colleagues. Thank you so much. Okay, maybe I should see who is answering too. Okay, was ready to give up his life on the order of Lord Vishnu so that his bones could be used to build a weapon.
Dadichi.
Muni. Thank you so much. Very good. Okay, this was a Mahajan who fought on the side of irreligion. He fought against the law. Very good. Thank you so much. Yes. Just because he wanted to. So all of these people, they tolerated whatever situation they were put into because they wanted to follow the will of the Lord. Okay. So this personality was not accepted by her husband and had to perform. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes, Mother Sita, because and so many difficulties, and never once did she question Lord Rama, or did she say, okay, I have to consult with him personally before I accept what he's saying. No, she just automatically accepted the Lord's will and she tolerated whatever difficulty she had to go through because of that. Okay, so an easy one, was saved in the womb.
Parikshit
Maharaj.
Yes, it is Parikshit Maharaj. He was saved from the deadly Brahmastra, but what was it? It was a curse by a small little Brahmana boy that caused him to, die in 7 days. But he still accepted that as the Lord's will. He did not wonder, how is it that I was saved in the womb when I was just an embryo? And over here now I'm this big king. I can easily destroy any of these small boys. I can counter any of these curses that are given to me. He didn't do that. He just accepted it as a... Okay, next one. This personality, he weighed the situation when Durvasa Muni decided to threaten to curse the entire kingdom. And he decided that, okay, instead I will sacrifice my life. And he was banished from the kingdom by his brother.
Vidura?
Not Vidura. Okay, if I give you the context, it will be super easy. This is from the Ramayana, actually.
Oh, Ram. Oh no, Lakshman.
It is Vali, Sugriva. No?
It is Lakshmana. So
Okay.
when Rama had a personal meeting with the Lord.
Yeah, at the end of the Ramayana.
Yeah, yes. So at that time, when Yamraj himself had come to speak to Lord Rama, that time Durvasa Muni comes in. So there was an instruction that was given to Rama that you should not allow anyone else to enter. You should not allow this conversation to be interrupted. And so Rama says, okay, my brother Lakshmana will stand guard. And so when Lakshmana stands guard, Durvasa Muni comes there. And then he says, I have to see Lord Rama right now. So obviously Durvasa Muni, he gets very angry very quickly. So Lakshmana told him, no, he is in a meeting. He's a little busy. So Durvasa threatened. He said, I'm going to cause this whole kingdom. So Lakshmana knew that, okay, if he goes in, it was already announced that anyone who, interrupts the meeting is going to have to be beheaded, give up their lives. So Lakshmana thinks, okay, maybe it is time for me to do that. So he says, no, please, Durvasa Muni, you wait. And then he goes in and he interrupts the meeting, and Lord Rama says, okay. The meeting with Yamaraj concludes there, and Lord Rama says, I will come right away to meet Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni says, you know what, my 10,000 years of fasting has concluded today. I want a nice feast and I want you to prepare that. So that was Durvasa Muni's request. That was why he came. And after Durvasa Muni was completely satisfied, Lord Rama knew that there is this very heavy decision that he has to take. And so, based on the instructions from Vasishta, he decides to banish Lakshmana from the kingdom. So, okay, the next one. This personality, he was performing so many Ashwamedha Yajnas. But when he reached...
Ritu Maharaj.
Yes, just the moment when he was advised by Lord Brahma to stop at 99 horse sacrifices, he immediately followed and he abandoned all his eagerness. He even made friendship and peace with King Indra. So there is nothing more than the instructions of the superior or the Supreme Lord. So, okay, this personality was insulted and cursed.
Lord Shiva.
Exactly. So, can anyone tell me the situation? Okay. Yes, it is Lord Shiva. And when Daksha Prajapati, when he enters the assembly, other than for Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, everybody else stands up to respect him, but to show their respects to Daksha. But Lord Shiva does not stand up. And so Daksha, he gets very furious and he insults him so badly. And hearing this, of course, Nandishwar, he does not, he's not calm. He gets immediately agitated and he gets up. And he, Daksha curses Lord Shiva and his associates. Nandishwar curses them back. But Lord Shiva, he was most sober. He was just sitting there. Why? Because he is the topmost Vaishnava. And one of the qualities of a Vaishnava is to tolerate in any circumstances. So that's what Lord Shiva did. Okay. So very easy one. She underwent so many sufferings all her life. And she had to abandon. Maharani. Okay. Okay. So he threw a dead snake off his neck. He didn't care that he was assaulted by the king. Yes. And he immediately chastised his son for having cursed the king. And so he was begging forgiveness from the Lord for his son's folly. Okay, this is the last one. We all know this. This personality, he was beaten up in 22 marketplaces. So many times he was put in such trying situations, but he still survived all of them just because of the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Thank you, dear devotees, for participating. Really appreciate it. So now we will move on to the next verse. This has a purport, so we will look at it. Text 15. Sattvam rajastama iti prakrite natmano guna tatra sakshinam atmanam yo veda sana bhadyate. Translation: one who knows that the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of material nature, and who know that the pure soul is simply an observer of the actions and reactions of these qualities, should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by these qualities. We'll read the purport too, and then we will explain. Okay. Anyone would like to read?
I didn't read it.
Can read.
Yes, please go ahead, Prabhupada. Yes, please go ahead.
As the Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita 18:54, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kanchati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one attains self-realization, the Brahmabhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. The living being, the pure soul, has nothing to do with these modes. In the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, he is understood to be liberated. The real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious, undisturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything. Since everything is supplied by the Supreme Lord, the living entity, being fully dependent on him, should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. Rather, he should receive everything at the mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Preeti Mataji. Yes, we'll go back to the verse. Oh, here we see the qualities of a liberated soul are given. There are so many points, beautiful points, as Srila Prabhupada says. We'll try to highlight some. Okay. So as we look at the verse says Sattvam Rajas Tama Iti, right? So thus Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. What are these three? These are the three modes of material nature. They are goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? So the next line says, Prakritir Natmano Guna. Prakritir. So they are of material nature. Natmana, not of the spirit soul. Guna, of qualities, right? So these are qualities of material nature. These three modes do not belong to the soul. They belong to Prakriti. What are these three modes? They are the ways in which the external world around us is perceived. Okay, that's how we perceive them, and based on our perceptions, we have certain emotions. These emotions then lead to our actions. The way we act is determined by how we perceive the world, right? So these three modes, they shape our perception and they shape the response that we have towards the world. So then we look at the next line, which is Tatra Sakshinam Atmanam. Okay, Tatra Sakshinam Atmanam. He's the Sakshi. What is it? The soul. He is just the witness of the functioning of these gunas. So these gunas, they don't belong to the soul. The soul is Satchidananda, right? He has just got the function of witnessing whatever these gunas are doing. Yo Veda Sana Padhyate. Sorry, anyone who knows this, he is not bound. But Badhyate, he is bound. So Badhyate is bound, and Na Badhyate, he is not bound. So someone who knows that the three modes, nature, Sattva, Rajas, and Tama. They belong to Prakriti and not to the individual soul. They realize that the soul is just a witness of the functioning of these gunas. That personality will not be bound in this material world. So, and he has every chance of liberation, right? He is a liberated person. So we will look at, I'm so sorry. This purport, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada directly mentions 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu, right? So one who is transcendently situated, he is always equally disposed to every living entity. So he's equal in all situations. He doesn't lament. He doesn't desire anything. And mat bhaktim labate param. He attains pure devotion unto the Supreme Lord at that stage. That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Okay. And he also gives the qualities of such a liberated person. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he is the one who helps us relate this verse with the previous verse. He says that one who knows that all these three gunas are not the quality of the soul, but they are the qualities of material nature, and they know that the soul is just an observer. He is not bound by samsara. He says, victory and defeat are the products of the gunas alone, and the soul is beyond these gunas. What do they mean by that? He is trying to relate the verse 14 with this. In verse 14, we talked about 4 different sets of dualities, right? We talked about Jaya Apajaya, Yasha Akirti, Sukha Dukha, and Mrityu Jivita. We talked about fame and infamy. Jaya Apajaya is victory and defeat, Sukha Dukha, happiness and distress, and life and death, Mrityu Jivita. So all of these products, they are just products of the modes, okay? And the soul is not influenced by these modes, okay? So if one can discriminate in this way, then we won't be affected by the dualities that come in our material life. In 2:15, so right after Matra Sparshas Kaunteya, he says we need to tolerate. Right after that, Krishna also, Lord Krishna, he himself says, Yamhina vyatayantete purusham purushashaba samadukha sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. So, O best among men, Archana, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both, he is certainly eligible for liberation. Here also Srila Prabhupada says, such a person who know that the 3 modes of material nature, they are under Prakriti, they are not the nature of the soul. They are also, such a person is fit for liberation. That's what he says here. And this just ties up the 2 verses together. So what happens? The soul is actually aloof from all the experiences in the material world. But what happens? The soul, he is actually entangled in this material body. So because of that, he has to witness everything that is happening. Okay, so when they start witnessing and the soul starts attaching everything that's happening to oneself, then obviously we end up continuing in this samsara, in this material world itself. But the soul, he always has the ability to come out of this and immediately desire devotional service. And the moment we start desiring devotional service, we can slowly come out of this entrapment, this material body, which is like a prison cell. So just as a prisoner who is in jail, if he exhibits good behavior, then he has every possibility of being released earlier than his term, or maybe even at his term. As long as the prisoner understands that this is not my home, this is just a very temporary arrangement, then the prisoner would know, okay, I don't need to get entangled in all the arguments that are happening in prison. I don't need to be caught in any bad behavior. I need to make sure that I stay clean. And for that, the prisoner can withdraw himself from whatever is happening around him. And he can stay aloof from all of them. And if that happens, slowly he will get, okay, oh yes, you are going to be rewarded for your good conduct. Your prison sentence has been shortened. You can leave, right? In the same way, the soul, we are encapsulated in this material body. We are encaged in this material body. And so the sooner we realize that, and sooner we decide, okay, yes, I don't need to get attached to everything that's happening around me. I just need to make sure that I stay strong in my desire to perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord, in my desire to worship the Supreme Lord. Then our stay in this material world also will get shortened. Krishna will see us and he will also be eager to take us back to him. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says a very beautiful word. He says, I'll read the statement. In the midst of the hurricane of this material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, he is understood to be liberated. So the real qualification of a liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious. He remains undisturbed by the actions and reactions of this material energy. So there is one personality whom we all know, who was completely detached from whatever was happening around him. And this was Jadabharata. He knew that these relations that I have, even his most loving father, he knew that this is just a temporary relation. This father of mine, he is there just for now, right? He did not attach himself. The father had so much attachment. He was so sad that the son is not learning anything. The son is not, he's not able to study the Vedas. He's not able to study the mantras. The father was always worried about that. But Jadabharat, he did not care. He knew that I have nothing to do in this material world. I don't want to establish anything here. I don't want to be attached to anybody here. And he knew that this is not a permanent place. These are not permanent relations. And so that's why he behaved as he did. So this nature of this world, it will never change. What do we have to change? We have to change our attitude. So as long as one is in the material world, we will continue to be subjected to the threefold miseries of Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adibhautik miseries that are inflicted by the body and the mind, those miseries that are inflicted by other living beings, or all the natural disturbances that happen around us. But when we start practicing Krishna consciousness, then we will slowly be able to change our perception of these miseries, right? These miseries are unavoidable. They keep coming. They'll keep, like what we said, all of these dualities, they are two sides of the same coin. So if one comes, the other will surely come at some point, right? So the miseries are unavoidable, but our suffering is optional. Do we want to suffer those miseries, or do we want to change our perception of how we see those miseries? So once we start changing our perception, we realize that the suffering is just optional. So the real qualities of a liberated soul, that is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Mainly it is that he is always undisturbed by whatever is happening in this material world. So any action comes, whatever reactions have to be faced, he just faces it. It doesn't affect him. So he realizes everything is supplied by the Supreme Lord. So then the living entity, he's fully dependent on the Supreme Lord. He does not accept or reject anything based on my own personal comforts or based on, one's own personal comfort. He will only accept and reject things based on what is favorable or unfavorable for his devotional service. We all know this verse. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyate iti vishvaso goptripve varanam tatha atmanikshepa karpanye shadvidam Sharanagati. Sorry. So this is from the Hari Bhakti Vilas and also is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 22, text 100. So it talks about the 6 divisions of surrender. One of the most important part in that is Anukulyasya Sankalpa and Pratikulyasya Varjana. Accepting things that are favorable for our devotional service and rejecting things that are unfavorable, right? Also, we need to have the conviction that no matter what, Krishna is going to protect us. And we have to accept the Supreme Lord as our guardian or master. And we need to have that full surrender. We need to be able to surrender to the Supreme Lord with such great conviction that he accepts it, right? And we need to be meek and humble in our possession as a devotee. So then then those are the 6 divisions of surrender. So those are the 6 steps. And the main 2 that we are talking about right here is that we accept only what is favorable for our devotional practice and we reject anything that's unfavorable. So everything that comes our way, we need to receive them as the mercy of the Lord. Then we will be able to remain steady under all circumstances. So Srila Prabhupada, the qualities that he lists of a liberated soul are that he always remains Krishna conscious. He is undisturbed by the actions and reactions of this material energy. He's always jubilant. He never laments. He never aspires for anything. And he's fully dependent on the Supreme Lord. And he does not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. And he receives everything as a mercy of the Lord, and he remains steady in all circumstances. These are some of the qualities that Srila Prabhupada has listed in this purport. And I realized that I'm so far away from these, but this is our aspiration, that someday we get to this, we learn to assimilate all of these qualities by remaining steady and focused on our one goal, right? On Krishna. And accept everything as the will of the Supreme Lord. Doesn't matter, okay, this might be my karma, that might be because of my past karma. Doesn't matter, okay, the Lord is giving us this, I will accept it. So in chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, again, this seems much like a Bhagavad Gita class because many of these, most of this is so directly related to the different topics that are given there. So Arjuna, he asks, what are the symptoms of one who is transcendental to the 3 modes? What is his behavior like? How does he transcend the modes of nature? So for that answer, how does he transcend the modes of nature? It's explained by Srila Prabhupada that a person who does not desire to enjoy the body, nor does he desire to get out of it. That kind of a person is one who transcends the material modes. He is transcendently situated, and so such a devotee, he becomes automatically free. So he doesn't want to enjoy the body, he doesn't care, he doesn't desire to get out of the body. So it makes him in a different, situated on a different plane. And so he is automatically free. So he doesn't have to be, he does not try to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature. Like Maro bi rakho bi jo echa tomar. So you slay me, you protect me, it's your wish, Krishna, you are the master, I'm your servant. So as long as we are completely dependent on the Lord, and we perform our devotional service, and we perform all our activities just with Krishna in the center, then we will be equipoised. We will be equipoised in all dualities, and we will be able to transcend these material modes. So what is Vritrasura's position here? Vritrasura is actually in a hurry, isn't it? He really wants Indra to somehow finish this off. Why? Because he has so much faith that this is what the Lord wants. Lord has designed this weapon specifically to kill me. So he knows, okay, he knows that this thunderbolt is not going to fail. It has the power of the Supreme Lord. So definitely It is going to come and it is going to end my life. And he doesn't have any worries about it. See, he does not desire to enjoy the body. He doesn't, he doesn't care if I am going to get out of the body also. And this is his own realized knowledge. Vritrasura is on the battlefield over here. Only his own personal realizations are going to come out. And so he made sure that he chose his words so carefully so that Indra is inspired to fight. Indra is inspired to use that thunderbolt to kill Vritrasura. The very famous verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Lord Brahma's prayers. Tattenu kampasu samikshamano bunjanamevam evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapubhi vidadhan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadayabhak. And this verse so clearly relates to Vritrasura, where the translation is that, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. He's so patient. He's going to wait. Doesn't matter. Okay, you give me happiness, I'm going to accept it. You give me suffering, I'm going to accept it. With an equal mind, if we can do that, and always think of everything that's happening around us as okay, this is the will of the Lord, I will do it. I will accept it. And he is constantly so fixed in the Supreme Lord. Such a person is eligible for liberation. And that is the position of Vritrasura. He's so patiently waiting. He has already experienced this. He has already experienced the love of the Supreme Lord. And he knows what it is like. He was directly with Lord Sankarsana. And we will read more about that in the future chapters. So Vritrasura, he knows he's yearning to go back, but still he is waiting. He's trying to be as patient as possible, and he's going to suffer whatever, the results of his past deeds, or whatever the Lord wills. He's ready to face it. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj has a very beautiful quote with this regard. He says, enduring difficulties for a meaningful purpose is a sublime pleasure. So I hope there would be a day when actually I can see difficulties that come my way also as the Lord's mercy, and take pleasure in whatever comes, be it happiness or distress. Both we need to be equipoised. Many times what happens is when something really, when we get victorious, many times we don't know how to take the good things that happen to us as the Lord's mercy. We rejoice in it so much. We relish what's coming our way so much. But even that, we need to be very sober and understand that, oh, this is the Lord's will. It has come by the Lord's mercy. I'll accept what has come and I will offer it to the Supreme Lord. And the purport of this Tatenukampa is very, very beautiful. I'll just read a few words from there. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he says that according to Srila Sridhar Swami, he says that just as a legitimate son has to just remain alive to gain inheritance of his father's properties, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, who follows the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, they automatically become eligible to receive the mercy of the Supreme Personality. So a devotee will earnestly await the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while we are suffering the painful effects of our past misdeeds, of our previous sinful activities. And although a devotee, what happens is, although we are surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, unless we are completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, there's always a slight inclination for us to enjoy all these false happiness in the material world. So the Lord, he creates a particular situation so that he can eradicate all this remaining enjoying spirit that we have. And so that's our cleansing process, right? This is our purificatory process. And so this unhappiness that is suffered by a sincere devotee, it is not technically karmic reaction, it is the Lord's special mercy. And this is for inducing his devotees to completely let go of this material world so that we can happily return back home to Godhead. So we all desire, and of course a sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he would willingly accept the Lord's merciful punishment, and he continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, with his words, and his body. So, such a bona fide servant of the Lord, he considers all the hardships in life as a very tiny price to pay for gaining this personal association of the Lord and becoming the legitimate son of the Supreme Lord. That is, I mean, it's such a high aspiration for us. And all these small obstacles in this material world that we face is nothing, because ultimately we all want to go back, and we all will go back someday. So I'll quickly summarize. We discussed 2 verses. Verse 14 focused on the dualities of life and how we need to face it with equanimity and tolerance. And verse 15 talked about the material modes and how they are different from the soul. It is those are the qualities of Prakriti. They're not the quality of the spirit soul. So the soul, he is just a witness. We have to make sure that we transcend these modes, and then we would be able to become a liberated soul, because a liberated soul is one who understands that the soul, he is different from the material modes. He is different from this material world, and he needs to make sure that he stays aloof, and he has utmost faith in the Supreme Lord. Then he would be able to go back to the Supreme Lord, and such a person is liberated. Srila Prabhupada says they would even be liberated in this world itself. So we will stop here, dear devotees. Thank you so much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I really thank you all for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I think one more thing can be added in your introduction. Mataji gives class always with a smiling face, so that we can add it in the introduction also. Thank you so much, Mataji, for such a wonderful class. For each verse, it was very interesting actually, with so much interactive session it was actually. So, and you gave various examples for the first verse, which you took for the tolerance, and then for the 3 modes of material nature. You went back and forth through Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So it was very nice, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So I would request you to come often on this call. When I'm doing the greeting service also, please come and give the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was so fortunate to be here. I know that you have always asked, and I'm so grateful that it happened today. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So I could see many hand raised. So Vanita Gandharvi, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much for your time. It's such a beautiful class because especially when it is interactive, we would like to be more attentive. What the speaker is going to ask, I wanted to answer first. It is like that. So we will be more attentive. It made me more attentive. And as you said, these verses that you spoke today are more related to Bhagavad Gita. And especially the verse that you recited today in Bhagavatam is starts with in Bhagavad Gita also, right? Sattvam Rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhava nibadnanti mahabaho dehe nam avyayam. If I'm right, I don't know if I said correct words. So that verse I was relating. I thought you will say something about that also, because the starting line is the same. Thank you, Mataji. So beautiful class, especially the summary slide. I really like what you have talked about, the tolerance and qualities of a devotee, how we have to be stable in every situation. Such a beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very grateful to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for being here and for being here every single day and being so attentive in every class. It's not just you, even Balavrinda is always like that, so attentive, even in the adult session. So very grateful for having your association. And thank you so much for being the backbone of Bhakti Sangha. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vinita Mataji. Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Such a fantastic class. I have so many nice things to say. Really love the flow between the two verses, how you connected the two verses to make it easy for us to understand the connection and the message conveyed in those two verses. I love the use of the analogies like the person in the jail, the greatness of the ocean. Though the ocean is so great, it remains in its place. And at the end, I like the way you connected it to the mood of Vritrasura. Maharaj's quote, you actually connected it to the mood of Vritrasura, and you tied everything together. I thought that was so beautiful. And speaking on the verse on Pratenupampam and Sridhar Swami's commentary, that we just have to stay alive in Krishna consciousness and everything is taken care of. So one may wonder, how is it? How can you tolerate, right? So tolerance is what the expectation is, but how do you tolerate? And towards the end, you just tied everything together and you just said, okay, just be alive in Krishna consciousness, surrender to Krishna and Krishna will take care. That was so beautiful. It's hard for us to comprehend how it happens, but the process that you explained seems very workable for everybody. Such a nice way of presenting the class, Mataji. Thank you so much. I just have one question. If you can go back to the verse, the second verse, the slide, if you can share your slide. Yeah. What is this picture, Mataji? That's all. It's a very simple question. Can you explain this picture?
I just wanted a picture of Jadabharata. So this was a picture of Jadabharata that I found. Okay.
So what is the picture actually explaining? Like the story? I didn't understand the storyline that the picture is showing.
I don't know, Mataji. I have to go back and check. I'm so sorry, Mataji. So,
yeah, I was just wondering if it has anything to do with the three modes or surrender or something like that. So that's
yeah, like in the material world, like so many animals are coming to pounce on the person. I don't know. I am not going to speculate here. I'll have to go back and look at the verses, Mataji, and then I'll get back to you. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thanks.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Prahlad and Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji, for allowing me to speak. I'm so kind of exhilarated that you got initiated in 2021 and I got initiated in 1984. All right. And the thought pattern which you have developed by studying Bhagavatam and like that, this is so marvelous achievement that I've been able to do this, to develop that 2.14, 2.15, and then 10.14.8. These three is actually a perfect kind of thought pattern. Thought pattern developing by studying Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna conscious literature is so much important because Antakalecha Mame Smaran Bhutva. This is going to sprout at the end of the life, the last time. And that the thought pattern more we develop by doing sadhu science, studying Bhagavatam, Sri Prabhupada, and doing satsang, satam prasangam, and various of them. So all this is going to help us to develop that at the end of the life. And I really compliment you because you have assimilated these. There is one sloka, I heard one lecture in Bhakti Sangha only, that one of the great devotees, Vaishnava speaker, he said that someone had asked Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Prabhupada Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, who is such an exalted, erudite scholar, that which is one sloka out of all Bhagavatam slokas, 18,000, one sloka, if you put in your life, that's the perfection of this life. And that was this Tattenu Kampam Susamixmano Bunjani Vatmakrutam Vipaka. If you and me came, or any devotee, any person puts this one slok in his life, this is the perfection of life. And Sri Prabhupada demonstrated it, so exuberantly like that. So again, thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and my compliments to you for giving excellent lecture. Thank you very much.
Ananda Prabhu, this is, we just repeating the words of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. This is not realized knowledge, but hearing from you, Prabhuji, and if we have your blessings, definitely that someday we would be able to realize this, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I request,
so much.
if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. We have so many wonderful devotees in this forum who would be able to answer your questions. So, Narahari.
I could see, Narahari Dev, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I just wanted to thank you, first of all, for an excellent class. There's just one thing with your presentation that I didn't agree. You said that you're just sharing Srila Prabhupada's statements and it's not your realization. And listening to you speak today, I will consider, it is just like my great fortune to hear from saintly people like you. And the only thing is, you definitely, it is from your heart that you're speaking, it is your realization. It is my good fortune that, I can get to hear from saintly personalities like you. So thank you, Mataji. My humble obeisances to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Looks can definitely be deceiving. That's definitely not who I am, but I really, really pray that someday we really need to realize this, like what Prahladananda Prabhu said, if there is one thing that we need to assimilate in our life, it is Tatenu Kampasusa. So I'm praying that we get there someday. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Shyama Gauri Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. Wonderful, nice presentation. It's very, we have to have faith in Krishna all the time that Krishna is going to save me. It's very beautiful points, Mataji. Sorry, I did not hear the class fully because I went to get the flowers. So I will hear one more time, Mataji.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, all your services.
Thank you so much.
We cannot do anything without you.
No, thank you for engaging us. Otherwise, this daily Bhagavatam class also we won't be able to hear. I mean, a person like me won't be able to hear because just because we're getting the opportunity to serve in Bhakti Sangha. We learn from so many wonderful Vaishnavas. Thank you for bringing them all, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for nice presentation. Was so good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, there are appreciations in the chat for the class. Charu Mataji, Nandapriya Narmada Mataji, and SP Prabhuji and Lalitangi Mataji. Everyone are saying that a very beautiful class, wonderful class, very nice presentations. And there is Indulekha Karuna Mataji also saying thanks to all the devotees.
Mataji, you do such a wonderful job every day. So I'm very fortunate that we are in your association and association of all the Vaishnavas here.
So Lalita and Dinavandu Prabhuji and Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Dear Indulekha, Hare Krishna, please accept our obeisances. We were captured by this class and your purity, and we're so thankful to have this kind of association day after day. And your service, we always see everything you're doing, and we really just want to thank you from the bottom of our heart to have your association in this forum. Thank you.
Mataji, we are so fortunate to have both of you in our association. It's very humbling to be here, and it's so wonderful to have such senior devotees in our midst. And you're so humble, Mataji, and Thank you, Prabhuji. Every day you end the class with your wonderful Gauranga Nityananda. We look forward to that. Thank you so much. Please continue. All glories to your wonderful services. And please bless us, Mataji. Please bless us, Prabhuji, that we can follow your sincere mood and also be sincere disciples of our Guru Vargas.
You're our mirror. We want to become like you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thank you, Mataji. That's really wonderful. So you do so many services in Bhakti Sangha also. So we are very fortunate to have your association actually. So please keep giving us your association, Mataji. And in the meantime, even Aditi Mataji, Megha Mataji, and Hemi Gupta Mataji, Mani Jain, I don't know, it's Mataji or Prabhuji. Everyone are saying thank you for the class and wonderful presentation, amazing class. So yeah, so again, Indulekha Mataji is replying thanks to everyone. So dear devotees, if Tiffany Mataji is there.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. I just wanted to echo what Lalita Mataji said, is that I am also so very grateful to have your association on this call. Your services you just help everything go smoothly for the entire group. You're here every single day, doing your service, putting up those. I mean, it's amazing. It's almost like you know ahead of time what the speaker is going to say, because the verses, as soon as they mention a verse, you put it up on the screen. I'm always so amazed by that. And I noticed, yes, that you send out the posters and everything. And, I'm so grateful for your help with the article, for the newsletter. I mean, you just do so much beautiful service, and you're very tolerant. There's never a sign of you feeling exasperated or anything with all that you do. And that's amazing. And it's such a beautiful example. And I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so very much. This was such a beautiful class. You put so much work into it, and all of the connections you made, you tied so many things together. So clearly you have a working knowledge of Shastra. You know Shastra very well because you were able to pull these things together that are in so many different places, and it's just beautiful. I'm just grateful. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Tiffany Mataji, for coming, being here, and for all your very valuable services, Mataji. So much to learn from you, from your demeanor, how a good Vaishnava should be. But thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much, Anita Mataji. I think we can end the call here. I know you're also.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Some few more appreciations are there in the chat. I hope you have seen it.
All of them.
Mataji has replied to all the appreciations. So thank you so much, dear devotees, for giving all your association and appreciation for Mataji and to me as well. So thank you so much, Mataji. And we are really very fortunate to have you on the call. Always as humble and very peaceful, I say. So we need your association frequently. So I would request you to come for Bhagavatam class, as I said earlier. And,
I'm not going to go anywhere.
Thank you so much for giving your association. We will pull out also every now and then. So dear devotees, please let's pay our obeisance to Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Nityananda.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Radhe
Hare Krishna. Radhe Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining the call. We can end the call here.
Yes. Hari Bol.
Hari
Bol.
Gauranga.
Nityananda.
Nityananda. Gauranga.
Radhe.
Gauranga.
Nityananda.
Gauranga.
Tubakar Prabhu, we are missing him.
Mataji, Happy New Year for you, Indu Mataji.
Happy New Year, Indu Mataji.
Happy New Year. Happy Vishu Mataji.
Thank you all. Thank you, Shamagauri Mataji. I did not realize that today was but all fell together and it was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, closing the call. Hari Bol.